Hi guys, this is Brad Lincoln from Pathway to Oz with another one of my COVID updates for anyone looking to find out what's going on in Australia with the whole COVID situation and just as I said in the last couple of videos, to give you a bit of an insight of what's happening here. Okay, so some very exciting news has come out over the last couple of weeks. The Australian government is rolling out the vaccine. So, I mean, obviously this is a good thing, and the government has been very clear in saying that this is our first major step towards returning to some form of normality. So hopefully what they mean by some form of normality is borders opening, things going back to the way they used to be pre-COVID. Obviously that seems like it was a fair while ago, and we've gotten used to a lot of this stuff and precautions and rules and things that no one was ever used to happening. But with this vaccine rolling out, we're literally taking the first steps to everything going back to normal. The government is hoping to have about 35,000 people vaccinated within the first week, and that number increasing dramatically every week moving forward. So to give you an idea of how this vaccine process is rolling out in Australia, the government is, of course, looking after the frontline workers first, as they should be. So doctors, nurses, people working in quarantine facilities, police, anyone who's sort of on the front line, as it says in the name, dealing with the COVID and COVID response, are going to get that injection first. It will then be followed by the elderly and the most at risk. Okay, so most at risk being people with pre-existing medical conditions, things like that. Anyone who, if they did get COVID, is not going to be in a very good place. So they are going to be the first ones to get that sort of the public rollout of the vaccine, and that is already happening as we speak. Now, some really good news as well for anyone who is on a temporary visa in Australia, whether that's a tourist visa, a student visa, a working holiday visa. You are also eligible for the COVID vaccine, completely free of charge. The government is not going to leave you out because you are not a permanent resident or permanent visa holder of Australia. You are just as entitled to this vaccine as anyone else, and it's not going to cost you a cent. So hopefully that puts a few smiles and relieves a few people who are worrying about that side of things. Now, to give you an update on COVID infection rates in Australia are still continuously dropping. Of course, like any other country in the world, you do get a few spikes here and there, which I think is just to be expected. No one's sort of not getting away from having a few of the occasional spikes in infection rates. But to give you an idea, on average, okay, and this is from the end of February 2021, there are only 4 cases Australia-wide per week that are new. So if you compare that to some of the things that are going on in the UK, in the US, there is just no comparison. And so it really shows that even though the Australian government has copped a bit of flack for coming down really hard on this and taking some really big precautions that other countries haven't done, the numbers speak for themselves. And I think the Australian government, all considering, has handled this really well, and which does mean Australia is going to be one of the first countries to have this thing under control and ready to welcome people back to Australia as soon as possible. And finally, guys, just to give you an update on visas and enrolments. Of course, as mentioned in my previous videos, visas and enrolments are still processing. It seems like quite a few of you have taken my advice on getting things ready for 2022 and July 2022, and even towards the end of the year in 2021. We have seen a huge influx of enrolments coming through, which is great, and people are really starting to take those steps to get prepared for coming out to Australia, as things are looking increasingly good for international students to arrive, hopefully by the end of the year, maybe 2021, maybe even earlier, depending on how this vaccine rolls out. The government's very tight-lipped, as they have been since the start, on when this will actually happen. But the numbers are looking really good, and spots in courses are just going like hotcakes. So if this is something you want to do, without trying to repeat myself too much, don't procrastinate. Speak to the team, sort out your course, get your forms, get your docs in, and let's get your place secured, because the moment the borders open, everyone's going to start coming in, and spots in courses are just going to absolutely disappear in the blink of an eye. So guys, I hope you have found that video helpful, and it does give you a bit of insight into what's going on here in Australia. And as always, if you do have any questions, please never hesitate to contact the team at Pathway to Oz. Thanks.